Okay, what I want to do now is switch from one telescope to another telescope. So we currently have, let me show you here, the Celestron is now fully connected to our Pi. And I'd like to switch here to another telescope. And that is the GTI. So let's go through the whole process here in order to achieve that. We move this out of the way just a little bit. So first thing we'll do is make sure that the screen actually is on. There it is. Now, first thing we'll do is we'll disconnect the cables that we're not going to use anymore from the Celestron. So this is the cable for the focuser. So we'll disconnect it. And then we put the caps back on so we don't have any condensation on the lens. So make sure it's off. We disconnected the focuser. We'll disconnect this camera. So we'll disconnect the guider camera. This will disconnect it. And we'll also disconnect the power. So we can actually move this out as well. It's not our cable connected. So we'll move that there. And in comes the GTI. So we'll have that here. Now we'll connect the power. So it's connected by power. And one thing that's missing here is the LCD camera. We'll just take the same LCD camera that was on the Celestron. Let's see if that'll fit. I think it should. So it does. So we'll just put that back in. It already came with a cable, so we don't need that cable here. And what we'll do now is, since this is a USB 3 camera, it might create a lot of images, high resolution images, so plug into the USB 3 port. So that will be here. This one is the USB 3 port. So just to review this, we have in the USB 3 port, we have a USB 3 hub that is connected to an external hard drive. Also a dongle for the keyboard and the mouse plugged into the USB hard drive. And then the only other USB cable we're using is the one that is connected here to our CCD camera. So that's that. The power supply is connected, which is fine. Take the cap off and we'll turn the mount on. So it's now on. We put it in approximately its home position. And let's try to connect it. So what we'll do is we'll go to our VNC in the Pi-4 computer. Password 1level1. And here we have our screen, so we'll make this full screen. And we'll start our case start. So being in case start, we just verify here. And I'm trying to find where my mouse went. I'm having a little trouble locating my mouse. Let me just pause this. So I turn my mouse off and on. See if that's any better. And making this screen full screen. Okay, so at least I can manipulate my mouse now. So I'll go here to Tools and ECOS. Open ECOS. And what I wanted to do is I'll move this a little bit to the left. I wanted to check here is, okay, so we need to change the profile because we were just switching from the previous telescope, which is the 84 Celestron. So we'll go here to the 81 AZ-GTI Equatorial Solar Room. That's the mount we want to connect to. So before we do that, let's just verify if the hardware profile matches what we set up. And in fact, I think there's one thing here that we want to change, which is the guider. There's no guider scope on here. So I'll take that off. So we have now one AZ-GTI Equatorial Wi-Fi, that seems to be correct. We have one ZWO CCD, that seems to be correct. We have the William Optics RedCat 51, that seems to be correct. And the guide, we're not worrying about it because we don't have any guide camera selected. It also says here that we have a GPS daemon connected, which we previously had, but since we disconnected it, we'll actually take it off here. I'll put the two dashes there. So just to make sure, and I'm not sure if this is actually going to happen or not. In the past, it did not always show the port selector, but we'll try to call the port selector when we connect this profile. So with that, we'll save it. And let's see if we're able to start it. So we'll press the start button here. And I'm just trying to connect. And so far, so good. Everything seems green. And just want to verify here if the IP address is what we expect it to be. So what we'll do here is you can actually see that it's connected to two different hardware. One of which is the AZ-GTI Equatorial Wi-Fi mount. Everything is green and connected, and in the log it doesn't really show any errors or warnings or anything. Let's just check if the connection is what we expect it to be. So it claims that the IP address is 192.168.1.81, which is looking good. So let's just go here to the mount and show you that here on the label it has the same IP address. So we know we're connecting to this mount. And that's fine. I just wanted to check here if in site management we're getting the information that we're expecting, which is our current date and time. That's looking good. We have our latitude, longitude, and elevation. That's all looking good. So here we have the ZWO camera. That's also looking good. So at the end of the day, we did very little to switch from one telescope to the other telescope. Now we just verified if our hardware matched the profile that we defined. And it did, almost. So we made two small minor changes. We took out the GPS and we took out the guiding scope. We saved it, and with that we're in business. So now if we stick with this configuration for today and for the next days, there's nothing more to do. Because then we could simply, starting from the beginning, In fact, I'll disconnect it here and stop it. So the next time we'll use it, all we need to do is just to make sure that the profile is selected. That's the 81 profile. And we simply start it. So it'll start. Hopefully everything again will turn green. With everything meaning, I mean, there's only 2 pieces of hardware here. So one CCD camera, that's green. And the AZ GTI, that's also green. And that's just verifying here the site management, the 6th tab. That's all looking good. So just by connecting it, I mean, everything is working and we should be able to take pictures and slew and track and do anything that we need to do. So I think that's it for now. So Gideon arrived here, so I'm sure we'll review some of the pending issues that we need to resolve. So thank you. So what I wanted to do now is my good friend Gideon, sitting here beside me, came with the idea to add the guiding camera to the AZ GTI, which is a great idea. There's a nice guiding scope on there. So we just did. So let's actually switch here to the view. Here we can see the view. And what we did is we basically added here this other camera.
No, not this one.
Oh, I'm sorry, the one on the top. The guiding camera. And we just plugged it into the USB port. That's all we did. So let's put it back here in this position. And what we'd like to do now is we'll go to the VNC, and so that'll be at Pi-4 6080, that's where our VNC is, and see if we can make this work. So we'll log in with 1.11.01, and we'll make this full screen so we can see what we're doing. And you can see our ECOS was still running here, so that's fine. The profile that we are interested in is the 81 profile. So just to verify, it's 81 because here the IP address, show that here on the other screen. The IP address is set here on the label in the mount, 81. And we're going to have to make a change to this profile because we added a guider camera. And so we'll go here to the bottom. We'll have the ZWO CCD guider camera. Now we should also identify which guider scope we're using. Is this something we have already? I think that's a CWO, no?
Yes.
We already did.
But it's monochrome. And then.
So we already configured here the ZWO 30F4 guide scope. So that's the one that I'm selecting here now. So just to review, the primary scope is the William Optics Red Cap, and the guide scope is the ZWO 30F4.
No, there's a different number. Look on the back of the camera.
No, I'm talking about the guide scope.
Oh, the guide scope, yes.
Right.
But the camera is a different number.
Right, but the cameras, we just identified the
It will find it itself.
The ZWO CCD. Right. So I think with that we're good to go. So we'll save it. And let's test it. So we'll start it. So now we see that we actually have three pieces of hardware. There's the two CCD cameras that showed up. So one is the AS1174 and the other one is the AS1183 or ASI-183. That's what it's called. ASI-174.
Yes.
So those are the two ones. And it's connected to the mount as well. So that's working out of the box. So we basically made one configuration change so that our profile matches our hardware and good to go. So that's it for now.